for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He is a health coach, no other than Mr. Anthony Guastella.
Cool, man.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Anthony, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. So yeah, my story basically is I had Lyme disease for 6 years, right? And I was diagnosed with this being a teenager, and I had all these aspirations and things like that. Like I was really into health at the time, but I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, right? So I was experiencing every symptom that you can imagine through joint pain, through fibromyalgia, thyroid issues, all these things that were basically seemingly taking the life away that I wanted, right? So, and I was going from physician to physician, basically indicating that I could not get well, right? And that was very devastating news for me because I was just a kid essentially. Like everybody was doing these things, and I just felt so terrible all the time. And I was essentially left with a decision to make. I can either be a victim for the rest of my life and feel miserable, which is kind of the thing that was being told to me, or I can listen to my heart and I can listen to my inner guidance and I can choose to get well, which is essentially what I did. And through that 6 year long process, I learned all the tools of wellness, personal development, and basically I'm on fire right now to help as many people as I can do the same thing because I know what it's like not to feel well and having my own podcast and all these types of things basically to be of service. And so I'm excited to be here today.
Mr. Anthony Guastella, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today let's talk about mindset. How do you define mindset and why it is more powerful than circumstances or talent?
Yeah, mindset is really a core of everything, I feel, because your mind is going to dictate your actions essentially. So, for health, for example, all these things, are you going to take action on them or not? And it really comes down to our beliefs, our values, our standards, all these types of things. And fear is another thing that really holds us back. And being able to traverse through these difficult circumstances, I feel like is key. So, there's so many tools that we can go through, but mindset is really a foundation for me.
What is the biggest misconception people have about changing their mindset?
What I observe is that most people tend to have a fixed mindset about things. Like they tend to believe like these certain things about their life. Perhaps in the past they would go through certain experiences, right? But I just find that anything is learnable in life. Like if you want to become something, or if you want to learn something, or grow out of your circumstances, it's always doable. But you have to believe that it's possible. And no matter what about the mindset you're going through, like there's always another side because I know what it's like not to feel well, and I know what it's like to feel well, right? So understanding those circumstances can change, and just knowing that you have what it takes at the end of the day.
How does neuroscience support the idea that mindset can be rewired?
So there's concept of neuroplasticity. I think many people have heard of this right now. Now, we used to think that neurology and the brain, that these things could not be changed, right? But I feel like most people would kind of, even though the science says otherwise or used to, I feel like we would kind of know that's not true because we can learn as we get older and all these things. So neuroplasticity essentially, our brain can actually develop new brain cells in certain areas of the brain via the hippocampus, which is the memory center of the brain, and olfactory bulb, which is the sensory of the nose, like smelling. So the rest of the brain, as far as we know, it cannot regenerate new brain cells, but we can do a lot to no matter no matter what our brain has been through. Like we can essentially heal a lot of that thing that is going on, whether it's physical trauma of the brain, like brain damage, or essentially, all these like toxic beliefs that are carrying around as well. So brain definitely can change based off the actions that we take on a day-to-day basis.
And let's talk about fixed versus growth mindset. What are the key differences between a fixed and growth mindset in daily life, Mr. Anthony?
Absolutely. So, a fixed mindset essentially is operating out of the belief that things are fixed essentially in your life, like that things cannot change. So, if you are going through a health crisis, for example, and your state of health, maybe you have a chronic disease. Now, 60% of people here in America have at least one chronic disease. Okay. Now, that is substantial. Now, it's not that the solution doesn't exist, it's that people aren't receptive to the solution because of the questions essentially that they're asking themselves. They don't believe that they can get well. Right now, it's not their fault necessarily, but ultimately, I believe that no matter what we go through in our life, we get to decide what happens next. That's what responsibility is. Like, not everything in our life is our fault, but we get to decide what happens next because that's what self empowerment is. Like, not letting the circumstances dictate our reality, but ultimately taking the power back, which is where it belongs, which is the growth mindset. So, asking empowering questions. So, that would look like, how can I get better from this? Is there a potential solution I'm not looking at? What can I learn from this? Right. So, essentially, growing and always wanting to strive and get better because I believe that the foundation of life is growth and service. Like, what else are we here for, right? I mean, that's the purpose. But how everyone expresses that is going to be different. So, the growth, I mean, that's where it is. Like, growth equals progress, and progress is essentially happiness at the end of the day, is what I find for most people.
Mr. Anthony, how can someone identify if they're stuck in a fixed mindset and what's the first step to shift it?
So, if someone is stuck in a fixed mindset, it starts with awareness. Awareness is the first step to change. So, most people aren't aware, which is part of the problem. So let's just say you want to affect change in a certain area of your life. First, you need to be aware of what that change is that you desire, right? What is it that you actually want? Because most people aren't being honest with what they want. They're not even giving themselves permission to actually say what it is that they want. So once you identify that in your life, what that thing is, just start the ability to self assess. Like, what is it that you're doing that is getting in the way of your goals? What is it that could be in the way of like potential mental blocks, physical blocks, like all these things that we can evaluate and get better from? So, getting on the other side of that would be knowing your why, essentially. I mean, I feel like people with a why can endure almost anyhow. Like, my why is so multifaceted that if I come up against a challenge, it doesn't really matter because I know my purpose and I know that to get to the other side of it, I just have to find another way. There's always a path. Like, relentless massive action, I find, is the cure all.
Knowing your why and how, for sure. Can you share an example of how a growth mindset turned failure into a breakthrough?
Yes. So, to give an example from my life, I would say, in terms of the disease process that I went through for 6 years, like, it was just a learning process because knowing what I know now, it would probably take 6 months instead of 6 years. So, I would just not know what to do essentially. So, but what it took was internal resources, asking the right questions, taking the right actions. And even if things aren't looking like they're progressing, just being in that mind state of effort is key because you can not make progress on a certain day, but as long as you're continue moving forward and you don't give up, you have that develop that persistence, that grit, that determination. I feel like that's what carries us through because we all go through certain times that are going to be challenging, but it's all about how we respond to it. It's not the circumstances. It's about how we respond to it. And knowing that you're the source of the power is the most important thing because getting to the other side of it is always possible because the life that you want is possible. You just have to believe it in yourself and know that, again, like your actions will determine your outcome at the end of the day. And just keep looking for that solution, man. Like, listen to your heart, stay focused on the mission.
Listen to yourself, people. And Mr. Anthony, let's talk about the mindset and challenges. How do resilient people reframe setbacks using their mindset?
Yes. So setbacks are ultimately set up for a comeback, right? I mean, I experience setbacks all the time, every single day. Like I like to say to myself, like so much of my success or most of it comes from failure. Like I kind of look at events as neutral, right? I think it's important to things look them as neutral because ultimately the circumstance itself doesn't matter as much as how you respond, like I keep on saying. So looking at how a setback, like ultimately it's about learning process. So what can you learn from that situation, right? Because if you fail forward, right? Because if you just learn, failure is education, I find. Just being educated by the circumstance, because then that's how you take the lesson and move forward. Whatever you do, just keep moving forward and stay focused on the path because if you don't give up, you're bound to reach your goals. That's what I do every single day. And, being a coach, I find that because a coach ultimately is supposed to remove the blocks for people, right? Like at least help people be aware of them. It's not about like a lot of people I find like they kind of tell people their thing, like this is what you should do instead of having a customized approach for you. I find that life qualifies us for the person that we want to become through challenges. So challenges are the way. Challenges are a necessary part of the process. You can't be the person that you want. You cannot live the life that you want without challenges. So obstacles indeed are necessary. And how you overcome them is going to develop your character and forge you for the life that you actually said you want in your heart.
Mr. Anthony, as a health coach, what are your short term and long term goals?
As a health coach right now, I'm always like learning and growing, constantly reading and putting things into practice, right? Because my purpose, how I express it, is through helping people take control of their health. So it's my passion every single day to put these things into practice and report it to other people. So I do that through podcasting, through writing, and other modalities. And I just feel like, you know, as the mission grows and more and more people are becoming aware of this information, like the chronic disease rates should get better, the food systems, all these things, because I know what it's like not to feel well, and it's not. It's a completely different life from being healthy. I mean, most of us we don't understand how good we can actually feel until we get to the other side of that. It's just a completely different circumstance. So that's my mission, and just staying focused on that every single day.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Anthony, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people that want to be a health coach like you?
Thank you. So if people want to become a coach, I definitely do not recommend going to college for education. Here's why. The nutrition information is funded by processed food companies. It's radically inaccurate, which is why we have so much nutritionists who don't know anything about nutrition. So they're funded by General Mills, Coca Cola. I can't believe it's not butter. So it's an absolute mess. So if you want to become a coach, I would recommend going to some alternative certifications. I actually went to the Institute of Transformation Nutrition. I recommend them. I believe they're the best. There's other good ones out there, but these alternative education platforms is really where it's at because that's how the people who actually learn about health put their information in. It's accurate information, and of course they teach you about other things as well, like coaching, mindset. But ultimately, number one thing you can do is be the model, be the change you wish to see in the world, because it's great to have all this information, all this knowledge, but if you don't apply it, it doesn't really matter. Like knowledge is not power; it's when you apply it, at least power and wisdom. So putting things into practice yourself and being a living representation of what you talk about is the number one thing.
Thank you for that advice, Mr. Anthony. And can you please recommend books or book that influence your journey?
Yeah. So since we're talking about mindset, the book I have to recommend is called You by Eric Thomas. He's considered the number one motivational speaker in the world. He's written many books. This is a New York Times bestselling author, and this is his latest book. And what this book essentially is is about taking 100% responsibility for your own life, because we have all these things that are going on. And again, it's not to say that things are your fault in your life, because not everything is your fault. Like, bad things happen to good people all the time. But the thing is, we get to decide the next step, because ultimately, we really don't want to be a victim for the rest of our lives. We don't want to walk around with this hurt energy, because we're meant for greatness. We're meant for potential. Like, our potential is limitless, and I just don't want to see people live out their life not living up to their full potential. So this book teaches so much about responsibility, potential, and he really goes through his own story in depth and detail. And what this does is kind of teach people certain success principles and things like that to help them along their journey, because principles is really the gateway. I find, like, principles over feelings, in a sense, because we all feel things, but how we respond to how we feel on a day-to-day basis is so important, because our feelings are going to change and they may not even be true, right? It's important to have feelings and listen to them. But principles like stay ready so you don't have to get ready, be the change you wish to see in the world, trust the process, don't rush the process. All these things, like, I believe that they're intrinsic and they're in alignment with your goals and your dreams. So that's why I recommend that book, and essentially living by principles every single day, and staying focused on a mission, living with honor and integrity, all these things, because real strength comes from real virtue. Right? If you want to be strong, like, you actually have to develop things. You have to go through things. Like, a lot of people, they kind of say things, but ultimately you have to develop yourself. And that happens through being aware of our actions on a day-to-day basis, how we respond to people, how we respond to circumstances, and just gauging your progress every single day, and ultimately working on all areas of your life to be the greatest version of you. Because ultimately, I believe that's what it's about, and just being of service every day and helping as many people as you possibly can.
Well, thank you for that recommended book or books, Mr. Anthony. And how can parents teach kids growth mindset without pressuring them?
It's a great question. I always think that it comes back to being the model of what you talk about, because people, they don't necessarily do what you say, they watch what you do. So you can be saying one thing in your life, but if you're not actually practicing these things, it doesn't really matter. Because if you say it to people and you really believe it, then why aren't you doing it? Right? So be the model and change you wish to see in the world. And also, make what you do look awesome. Like, make your results be known. Like, if you have a spouse, for example, who doesn't want to get on board with a new diet or new nutrition, okay, what can you do to make your results look awesome? What can you do to influence them? Now, you can't control the person, but you can influence them, right? So influencing people by also attaching it to their goals. Like, if they have certain goals, show them how eating well could help them reach their goals, and also let your results be known, and just be the model every single day. That's what I would say.
Wow, empowering answer, Mr. Anthony. Beautifully articulated. What's mindset shift you made that dramatically improve your life?
The number one thing that comes to mind is no longer being a victim, because I used to beat myself up a lot. Like, we all go through certain challenges, certain circumstances, but how you develop that internal relationship with yourself is so key, because the relationship with yourself, I find, is perhaps the most important thing, because how you treat yourself is going to dictate how your actions. I just see so many people walking around with this low self worth. And it's a shame, because you are inherently worthy, you inherently matter. It's just that we go through certain things that we tend to lose that in ourselves. Like, we tend to forget. And no longer being a victim, for me, what that looks like is, hey, just just relax a little bit, because the more stressed we are, like, the more likely I find we are to essentially beat ourselves up. And for me, just encourage yourself, like, reach your goals, and understand that it's not about perfection, it's about progress every single day. Like progress is about not always being perfect because you will trip, you will make mistakes, and that's okay. It's part of the process, it's part of the learning journey. And as long as you just keep getting up and keep going, like you have to understand that what you want in your heart is yours. Like it can't be taken from you. You just have to access it. It's within you. And developing yourself, like success is something you attract by the person that you become. So knowing that and moving forward every single day, I just work on my character because I know it's the foundation. So how can I get better? How can I serve? And I just find that you are the foundation of your life, and all areas, health, wealth, relationships, all these things will expand as you expand.
Mr. Anthony, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast law 101 and mental health 101, love letters in its third season, and movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them whenever you listen your podcast. Mr. Anthony, if you could leave us with one mantra to reprogram our mindset, what would it be?
I would say the power is in your hands. And this is because one person obedience is connected to so many other people's destiny. Like I find that so many people are watching you, people are connected to you, your family, your extended family, and as they see you grow, as they see you get better, and how you traverse your circumstances every single day, that's going to give them permission or inspiration to do the same for themselves. So knowing that within your heart and just getting better every single day, because ultimately people are watching you, and you inspire greatness by the actions that you take. So know that in your heart and just trust the process. Trust your own process. Don't rush it. And know that your dreams can become a reality every single day. And trust yourself. And that's how I would leave people to think about things.
Mr. Anthony Guastella, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world.
Absolutely. It's been an honor.
Yes. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or your coaching itself?
Yeah, thank you. So if you want to find more about me, I podcast myself, and that is Anthony Guastella Wellness. This is where we talk about all things wellness related, health, personal development. Also, I have a website where I write articles, I do coaching, and basically just move the mission forward every single day. Try to grow in health, wealth, and that's what it is. I appreciate it.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Anthony Guastella because if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering health coaching, more to come. So, Mr. Anthony, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lucas. Appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.